All right. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Can you hear me okay? Right. Hello, everyone online. We'll start seated today. You can be feet under opposite knees. You could have the feet a little further apart if that's more comfortable for you. If you have a prop or a cushion at home, you can have something under your sit bones to raise you up a little bit. You could stack your heels on your center line. Whatever feels good in your body today. Nice long line from your tailbone all the way to the top of your head, like the top of your head wants to float towards the sky. Hand placement wherever you like. And big, deep, controlled breaths in and out through your nose, using the full range of your lungs, feeling your body expand front to back and side to side with each inhale. Exciting day yesterday with the eclipse. Maybe you went to the area of total eclipse. Maybe you just watched it from here. Eclipse is a nice time to be introspective and especially introspective to areas of your life and your psyche that maybe you don't give a lot of attention to that might be a little in the dark. One way we can do that is by paying attention to our triggers. Right? Is there something about people in general or maybe a person in general that really gets to you? And why do you suppose that is? Some say that our triggers are our messengers. Someone is late, for instance, or doesn't call you back. You get maybe a little more upset than you should because of that one particular thing. But why is that? Does that go back to your past or go to um, something about yourself? I'll give you a really like not very deep example, but one that definitely stands out to me. Like I I don't like to be in the way in traffic, and I don't like it when people are in my way in traffic, and I probably get a little more worked up than I should about that. I was also the youngest child who was in the way a lot, right? And so that's something that is like kind of deeply ingrained into me. I don't like to be in the way in grocery stores or in the way in traffic or just in the way in general because I spent a lot of my time getting out of the way when I was little, right? So there can be little things like that. There can obviously be more serious things than that. But a good time to just think about that. Think about some parts that might be a little hidden. Maybe something you can contemplate and meditate on this week, or maybe you can journal a little bit about. And like almost always, our life is reflected in our yoga and on our yoga mat. And so we can see those triggers in that same kind of relationship in our yoga practice by what poses do we feel not as comfortable in, or what poses do we say that we don't like them, but really we're probably not as comfortable in, right? Or that might be a little more difficult for us. And what message is that pose giving to us and to our bodies, right? So a real common one, and I'll try to cover a couple of them as we go through our practice today, but a real common one is seated, right? This can be tough for a lot of people. That's why I give you a lot of different options, but there's a couple of different things that might make being seated uh, hard for us. And the first one, and probably the most important, is the angle of our pelvis. So if you think of your pelvis like a bowl of gravy, right? The gravy might spill backwards and you might be sitting like this. The gravy sometimes can spill a little forwards, but in seated, it's most likely spilling a little backwards. So even in whatever seated pose you're in, can you just move the pelvis a little bit, move that bowl? So maybe purposely spill it a little backwards and then bring it up so it's spilling a little bit less, and just kind of play with that, right? Now, there are certain muscles, certain areas of your body that might be tight, that might be preventing a lot of movement of the pelvis. That could be the low back, that could be your hamstrings, that could be your glutes. So all these different areas that you can work a little bit, right? That you can stretch a little bit. And some of it too is how you use your body when you're not on your yoga mat that can make impressions in your body, right? So another real common one is where your head is. So find wherever your regular seat is, and then move your chin back, and then move it forward. And notice, without tilting your head down, notice where your center is and where your chin usually sits. For a lot of us, it sits a little more forward than actually being stacked above our shoulders. And when that happens, if you carry a lot of tension here in the top of the back, that can be from that chin being too far forward in your regular life outside of your yoga mat. And if that's the case, it can make a lot of opening poses be really hard, right? When your chin is forward, your arms don't come up as far, the shoulders don't open as much, and more things get tight. So we're going to look for our messengers today. So let's start with a little bit of movement in the head. Let the head fall front to back and side to side. Again, you can jut the neck forward and back a little bit. You can turn the head side to side. And then let's give our right shoulder a little bit of attention. So pull the right shoulder. I'm going to mirror you now. Pull your right shoulder up by your ear. Slowly relax it down. And then just your right shoulder. Let's give it a few circles. So send it forward first and then up and then back. So we're giving circles towards behind us. And then let's do the same thing with the left shoulder. So up by the ear to start. Slowly lower it down. Send the shoulder a little forward and then a few circles back. And we're going to interlace our fingers behind our backs. Straighten the arms and open the heart and throat forward. Now your hands could be touching your back. They could be extended away from your back for more of a stretch. It's totally up to you, whatever your shoulders are in the mood for. Big breaths into the chest, expanding the stretch from the inside. Think about lifting your collarbones a little bit towards the ceiling on each inhale, and then relaxing the back a little bit on each exhale. Soft face, soft jaw, no extra tension there. That's a messenger too, right? Of stress a lot of times. Come back up to neutral. Set your hands behind you with your fingertips towards your hips. Lean back a little and let's bring the legs straight out in front of us. Let's hover the right leg. Release, hover the left leg. Back and forth a few times. Maybe lean back a little bit more, bending the elbows, feeling the core kick in a little bit. Now you could continue doing this if you like. We're going to level up just a little bit. So if you're coming with me, we're going to bend the knees, bringing the feet on the ground, and then lift the hips. So we're doing a reverse tabletop here. You want your fingers spread nice and wide on the mat. Sometimes our wrists can hurt when we put a lot of weight on them, and that can be a messenger of our hands not taking up enough space. So from here, that right knee is going to come in towards the chest, legs straight out in front of us. Release. Left knee into the chest, straight out in front. Release. Let's do that one more time on each side. Slow and controlled. Again, fingers spread nice and wide. Perfect. Foot down, seat down, cross the legs, big hands on the mat in front of us, and we'll come up into a tabletop. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Knees, hips width distance. I like to have my toes tucked for a little extra stability. On the inhale, the belly drops towards the mat, hips and head float to the ceiling, towards the ceiling. On the exhale, reverse. Back of the heart floats, hips and head hang heavy. Inhale, lengthen the front body. Exhale, lengthen the back body. Back and forth with your breath at your pace. If you'd like to add some of your own movement here, you go right ahead. You can take the hips and shoulders in a little more of a spiral or a little bit side to side. Whatever feels really nice in your body today. Come back to neutral. We're going to take our right knee just a little bit off the ground, still bent, but hovering. Maybe, a couple inches. Take the right knee down, left knee up, and down, right hand up, down, and then left hand up. Okay. Right knee, left hand. Release, left knee, right hand. Release, ground the toes, lift both knees a little bit off the mat. Again, fingers spread nice and wide here. Release those knees down and come up to the knees for a kneeling mountain. And the arms out to cactus. Really thinking about pulling the elbows away from each other so you're taking up a lot of space horizontally. Let's give the wrists a few rolls while they're here. Our hands have been working hard for us. Lengthening out the chest again here. So inhale, lift the collarbones. Exhale, relax the back. And just breathe here. If you'd like a little bit more, you could take your fists to the low back. Pull your elbows towards one another. Lift the collarbones, relax the back, and get a little bit more into the back bend. Be very careful with the low back here. The lift of the collarbones keeps you light, keeps you long, and prevents the crunching in the low back. Slowly make your way to vertical. We're going to bring our arms straight out to the sides. Turn your right palm up towards the ceiling as you look at your right palm. Turn the right palm down as you turn the left palm up as you turn the head to the left palm. So you're turning your head towards the open palm. And now go back to where you started. Left palm down, right up. So you get the idea here, back and forth. If you practice yin yoga, or if you've ever gotten acupuncture, acupressure, heard about the meridians in Chinese medicine, this is flossing that lung meridian. It's also really nice for all this connective tissue. It goes from our fingers to our wrists, to our arms, to our shoulders, to our neck, and over to the other side. A lot of connective tissue that doesn't get a lot of attention in our daily life, but gets used an awful lot. After you're on your left side the next time, we'll come back to neutral. Release the arms again, interlace them behind you. Let's do another chest opener here. Back up to vertical, and let's get into the hips a little bit. So we'll take our right foot forward and untuck those back toes if they're still tucked. Sink the hips forward. So we're bringing space to the front of the left hip. You could stay here. This is a great place to be. If you'd like a little more intensity today, you can bring your hands or your fists to the mat. Tuck the back toes and slide that back knee behind you a little bit. More of a runner's lunge. Soft face, soft jaw, big breaths. Perfect. Inhale here. On your next exhale, we'll straighten the front leg and bring the hips back for a half split. And you could have your hands up on your thighs, or your fingertips could be on the ground, whatever's most accessible to your body today. Nice long line from the head, down the back, down the hip, the back of the leg, all the way to the heel. If all of your sensation is behind your knee, play with putting just a little bend in it and see if that helps you get into the belly of the muscles a little bit more. Send the hips forward, ground the left hand on the mat. Inhale, open the right to the sky. Exhale, turn towards the mat. The right fingers come behind the right leg and go over to the left elbow. Inhale, open. Exhale towards the mat. Right fingers, left elbow. Inhale, open. Let's hold here. Give that right wrist a few circles. Maybe that twist deepens a little bit more. Maybe the chest opens a little more towards the ceiling or wall. Turn towards the floor. Frame that front foot with the hands. Tuck the back toes. Step back to plank. Set the knees on the mat and then lower the rest of you down. From your belly, we'll take that right arm straight out to the side from the shoulder. Left hand is under your left shoulder. Push the left hand into the floor as you roll over towards your right side, stretching the front of that right shoulder. You could have the legs stacked. Some of you might have that top leg, the foot of the top leg behind you. Your head can be off the ground or it can be resting on the ground. You choose. No pain here. It's a gentle stretch of the shoulder. Slowly come back to your belly. Let's do that on the other side. So left arm straight out from the left shoulder, right hand under the right shoulder. And then we push the right hand down to roll to our left side. Maybe that right knee bends and that foot comes behind the leg. Maybe not. Gentle stretch, gentle opening. One more breath here. Exhale back to your belly. We're going to interlace those hands behind the back like we've been doing a bunch already today. And down at your low back. On your next inhale, we straighten the arms, lift the torso a bit, and float the legs. Some of you might have the hands off the low back for a little more height, but not needed wherever you're at today. What's important is that you feel long. The feet are pulling back, the forehead is pulling forward. Then you can get lighter, but think length first. Inhale here. Exhale, lower down. Bring the hands under the shoulders and push up into a tabletop. Let's take a few more cow cats here. So inhaling, belly drops towards the mat, hips and head float towards the ceiling. Exhale, reverse. Back and forth a few more times with your breath. Back to your neutral tabletop. Float the right knee and left hand. Core engaged. Release, float the left knee and right hand. Release, tuck the toes, float both knees. Release, come up to a kneeling mountain. Going into the low lunge on the other side. So left leg comes forward. Sink the hips forward. Looking to bring space to the right hip flexor. This is a great option. Could also be on the ground, tucking those toes to bring that right knee back a bit. Either variation is correct. Big, deep, controlled breaths here. Soft face, soft jaw. If the hip flexors are really tight, that can be a message that you might be sitting a little too much in your daily life, which a lot of us do. Just a couple more breaths here. And on your next exhale, we'll move into a half split. Again, you can either be up on the thigh or down on the floor, whatever makes most sense for your body. And it's okay if this side is different than the other one, no big deal. Letting everything be heavy. Like taking your time, allowing the yoga to do its work here. Send the hips forward, ground the right hand, inhale, open the left to the sky. Exhale, turn towards the mat, left fingers, right elbow. Inhale, open. Exhale towards the mat, fingers to the elbow. Inhale, open and hold here. Maybe a few circles of the wrists. Maybe the twist gets a little deeper. Turn towards the mat, tuck the back toes, step back to a plank, and then raise the hips for a downward dog. Give yourself a few minutes, a few moments here. Minutes might be a little intense. And then we're going to walk our hands back to our feet and give ourselves a forward fold. Knees bent as much as you like. You could have your hands on the floor. You could have your elbows on your knees. You could have your hands on your knees, whatever works the best for you. Sending your breath into the low back. And then we'll slowly roll up to standing. So if you're at the back of your mat right now, we're going to take a big step forward with the right leg. Bend the right knee, and we're going to turn that left foot a little bit out. So your left toes are at 10:30 or so. Front knee bent straight ahead. And let's do the arms up here. So your shoulders are square. This is warrior one. The shoulders are square to the front of the room. That comes from a little twist in your hips and a twist in your belly. Let's interlace those fingers again behind the back, straighten the arms, open the heart and throat forward, keeping a bend in that front knee. Sending your breath into the chest, expanding the stretch from the inside. And then working a little bit with some balance today. Come back up to vertical, take a little kick off with that back foot, working into a bound warrior three. So your hips are square towards the mat. Those the back toes are facing the mat, not the wall on the side. That left ankle or left heel stretches back. The top of the head stretches forward. And then you decide how much to hinge, right? So you could still have those toes on the floor. You could be up a couple inches. You could be parallel to the mat. Anywhere in between. Really noticing where the weight is distributed in that right foot. Come up to vertical, bring that left foot down by the right. Inhale, arms overhead. Interlace the fingers, release the index finger, heavy left foot as you lean to the right. And let's turn the head towards the floor. Turn the head forward, come up to vertical. Heavy right foot as we lean left. Turn the head towards the floor. Turn forward, come up to vertical. Release the arms to the side. So we're at the top of our mat. This time we'll take a step back with our right foot. Warrior one, left leg forward. So the heel is on the floor. The toes are pointing towards 130 or so. Front knee bent, shoulders square. So there's going to be a little twist in the hips and a twist in the belly. Strong arms, soft shoulders. weight even on that front foot, side to side. So your knee is going straight forward, not caving in or caving out. That's a messenger too, which way your knee wants to cave has to do with the strength of the muscles, the side of the hips, especially if it's caving in, right? Interlace the hands behind the back, straighten the arms, open the heart and throat forward, keeping a bend in that front knee. Hopefully your chest and your shoulders are feeling a little more open with all this interlacing of the hands behind our backs today. Should be sitting up a little straighter after class. Okay, here we go into our bound warrior 3. So little kickoff with the back foot, toes towards the floor, heel reaches back, top of the head reaches forward. You can keep a little bend in that left knee if you like. Just a little baby bend can kind of help with the stability. And once you feel really long, then you can hinge. Your toes could stay on the mat. They could float. Could come up to parallel. Anywhere in between is right. What's important is that you feel long. Yeah. Stand back up, lower that right foot, release the arms, walk it out. Inhale, arms out and up, little back bend here. Exhale, hinge at the waist, hands to heart center to the floor. We'll step back to a tabletop and then lower the hips to one side and make your way to a seat. Soles of the feet together. Back to your pelvic tilt, right? Bowl, not tipping backwards. It doesn't matter how far away your feet are. It'll be a little easier to keep the bowl from tipping if your feet are further away. Be there a little closer, depending on where you're at today. If they're within your reach, give the bottoms of your feet a little bit of love while you're right here. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold forward, leading with the heart. You might just be here. Maybe the elbows are to the feet or to the mat. Some of you might have nose to toes. Anywhere in between. Keeping the length though, that's why we're leading with the heart. Right, so we're not doing this. I'd rather have you here. And that kind of goes back to that angle of the pelvis. Big breath, soft face. Push your hands down into the floor, your legs to bring yourself up to vertical. And let's just find a little bit of curious movement in this Baddha Konasana. Send the weight a little forward, a little back, a little side to side. Don't push anything. No pain. You're just kind of getting to know your hip sockets a little bit. Come up to vertical. Use your hands on the outside of your knees to close your legs like a book. Make sure that your hips are in the center of your mat lengthwise. Feet flat on the floor. We're going to make our way to our backs. If you'd like a little more support, you can have your hands and then slowly make your way back. A little more of a challenge, arms out in front of you, slowly making your way back. Slow and controlled. Once you're there, bring the arms overhead, point the toes, take a couple of big breaths into your belly. And then we'll bring the arms down at your side, bend the knees so the soles of the feet are on the floor, about hips width distance, maybe a little bit wider. And then lower your knees to the left and right at whatever pace feels great. Really paying attention to the sensations in your body during the movement. Next time your knees are over to the left, let's stay there and turn your head to the right. Letting everything be heavy here. No pushing down, just heavy, just out of the way of gravity. Big, deep, controlled breaths. So that means they're slow and even. Bring the knees and the face back to center. Going into reclined pigeon, bring the outside of the right ankle on top of the left knee. Let the right knee be heavy. You could stay here or from the waist down, bring everything in towards the chest. You can interlace the hands behind the left thigh or in front of the left shin. If your right knee would like a little extra support, you can flex that right foot. That should make the knee feel more stable. If the knee still doesn't feel good, then you want to bring the legs back to the floor. If you'd like a little more of a stretch in the right hip, just put a little arch in the low back. That should do it. One more breath here. Release the legs down, uncross the legs. And take in those windshield wipers again. This time we'll take a pause when the knees are to the right with the face to the left. Again, just letting everything be heavy. Heavy eyes, broad tongue, big breaths. One more big breath here. Bring everything up to center, and we'll take the outside of the left ankle on the right knee. Left knee is heavy. And bring the legs in for reclined pigeon over here. Again, if you'd like a little more of a stretch, you can put an arch in the low back. Release both feet towards the ceiling. Give your ankles a few circles, stretch your toes. Bring the knees into the chest just for a breath or two. And then make your way to Shavasana when you're ready. Feet hips width distance, toes hang out to the side, arms down at your side. Just letting everything be heavy and supported. Begin to bring a little bit more air and a little bit more movement back into your body. Using your arms to support you, make your way to a comfortable seat. Hands at heart center. So homework this week. See if you can think a little bit about your triggers and how they might relate to your life a little bit. Thank you so much for joining me today to share your practice and your energy with me and with each other. Peace starts within. That means the whole world benefits a bit because you took the time for yoga today. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. If you dug, thank you so much. If you dug the sound, I do sound immersions called Vibes at Perennial in Fitchburg, and I would love to see you. The next one is going to be the fourth Friday of April, which I believe is the 26th from 7 to 9. So if you have any more questions, let me know. Otherwise, the Perennial Yoga website will have more information too. All right. Thank you so much.